It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com here on a Wednesday. It is, I want to say, May the 12th, I believe that is the correct date. We will be welcoming in Matt Damon a little bit later on, talk about his new movie, Stillwater. And we're joined by the entire crew, Eddie, Bob, and Josh.
It looks good.
What?
I'm gonna see the movie, Stillwater.
We're not going to be joined by Matt Damon.
I think she was a theta up at Stillwater, up at OSU. Maybe a Kappa.
Maybe Pi Phi.
Maybe a Pi Phi. All the other ones are pretty fat, I think. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not familiar.
And what are you, Eddie? What size would you consider yourself?
Well, guys, it doesn't matter for guys.
Is this getting into my? I'm attacking Eddie. You're continuing to attack Big Bread and Big Dairy. I've decided to attack Big SUV.
That's a take. I didn't know that was out there. What do you mean, big SUV?
Well, I've been car shopping. Although let's face it, I'm going to Eskridge Lexus, and they've been fantastic. Like we're in such a weird world right now. It's like,
I think. By the way, I think you're going to win the Hailstorm. I think you won. I think you claimed victory.
Yeah, I got a lot of money for my car.
I mean, it's good to have insurance, I guess.
It's State Farm. Shout out to State Farm.
If you didn't have insurance, it might be a little bit tougher.
Now we'll find out on the house part. The adjuster was over yesterday, so we'll see how much they give me there. But we're gonna need a new roof, so it better be pretty good. But no, it's just a weird time right now because everything is insane. Like we're an economy of all demand and no supply. Like Eskridge literally had like 12 cars on the lot.
And even if you do have a car, you can't get gas in some places.
Then, unless you got a plastic bag, apparently.
You don't need to go anywhere that bad.
That is a good question. How do you get gas from the plastic bag into your car? Josh, do you know?
The plastic bag into your car?
People are literally taking like plastic shopping bags to the gas station and filling them with gas.
Holy hell.
I think it's another one of those things that we don't understand here in middle America where it's plentiful. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never... I just topped off the gas tank last night just kind of because I was at the gas station.
27% of the gas stations, over a quarter of the gas stations in North Carolina currently do not have gas, Josh.
Holy shit. See,
a pipeline got hacked.
By the Russians.
I mean, it got hacked, so they shut down the gas line.
It's basically we have come full circle, and instead of hoarding and buying up all the TP, we are now buying up all the gas, which
and
makes
lumber,
no sense.
Though. I mean, there are people like that. The housing market is insane right now. Like restaurants can't get people to work for them because they're all working for dispensaries.
It's unbelievable.
Like it is insane out there right now. I had a dog my neighbor had his dog on his roof the other day.
I saw that. That's insane. Should have just told the
guys.
Jump.
When we built down the street,
that's the last thing you want. You want to deal with a dog with broken legs?
It's not your dog.
Oh my God!
You know what they did to Old Yeller, right?
Are you? They shot
Not
Old
Mike
Yeller.
Vick over here.
He was rabid. He got bit by a rattlesnake.
Yeah,
Eddie, I will support you in your hatred of most human people. But dogs is too far.
Oh,
I know.
I am pro dog. I am pro dog.
I'm afraid for your job right now because Josh is on the other line.
I'm pro dog.
I am the guy that will watch the sappy bullshit like commercials. The dogs. I'm like, I need to give them like $5. Like I need to give that. I need to call them and let them know.
Marley and me action.
Oh, dude, can't do. Tiffany, like we were literally we were gonna name.
Masochistic is if you like watching that movie over and over, then you really have no soul.
I don't know if I've said this before. I wanted to name Layla Marley because I've just loved that name, and I've always liked that. And it was, for me, it was about Bob Marley. And she comes home and she goes, everybody thinks it's about the dog. And I'm like, it's not about the dog. The dog was named after him. And like, so then like there was no chance. It was because we were naming our daughter after a dead dog in a book. So, and movie.
So you want our daughter to die, Josh, prematurely?
Yes, exactly. Like, why do you want your daughter to die from randos? I'm like, your friends are idiots. You need to stop listening to them.
By the way, Marley was like 15 or so. I mean, he lived a long life. He didn't die
He
prematurely.
had a good run.
Yeah. He just got old.
Yeah, it happens.
That's the part that you don't see in old school. Talking about old people just die. Old dogs die, too. That's what they do.
In old school?
Yeah. Is it old school? Yeah, it's old school. When they're at the funeral?
With Blue's funeral?
Yeah.
When Blue dies.
It's like, that's what old people do. They die.
Okay.
And the old lady looks back at him.
Well, Marley was like Blue, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was Blue's age.
Exactly.
when
That's
he
what
died.
happens.
In dog years, anyway. So, I don't know. Once again, I don't know where we are, but we're here.
You winning the war against the hailstorm.
I am winning the war against the hailstorm. Well, when I have a car, I will have won the war. When I have a new roof,
I think
will
we
have
went
won
all the
war.
way back to you said that you were attacking big SUV.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. Is like, it's not okay. Like, we live in big SUV has launched a smear campaign against expectant fathers. That it's basically this: you're a shitty person if you don't buy an SUV and you have a child on the way, regardless if your wife is already driving one.
I think that's fact.
Isn't that the way the world works? Is like
You have to have a
you
have to have a spot.
Can't just
Either
go
that or
buy,
an F-750 like Josh.
Yeah, you can't
I was going
just
to say,
go
there
buy.
are two fathers on this podcast, and I don't think either drive an SUV, Eddie.
Well,
Wow.
you.
I mean,
Josh, come on.
The
You
F-750 is a type of SUV.
Yes, you drive the equivalent
called
of
the
an
truck.
SUV.
The new truck is basically a car with a bed attached to it. Like, it is so nice inside. The big one was not that way. Like, it was much more like work truck kind of thing. This one is
So you don't have it's not dual
stupid.
cab?
No, it's a dual cab, but
Okay,
like
there you
it's just
go.
it's
It's
a
an
very
SUV.
nice. And there, oh yeah, I mean, it basically is with a cab attached. You're not wrong.
But no, it's like you're shunned if you go out like the car that I'm buying. It's the IS 350. It's just replacing the IS that I had before. But it's like these cars are dying. Like I watched all kinds of internet videos over the weekend. These cars are dying because people don't buy them anymore because it's socially unacceptable for people to buy a sports sedan in this day and age. Whether it's BMW or Mercedes, like if you're a dad and you just want to keep like a sporty car, you're not allowed to because of big SUV.
Honestly, probably nowadays, if you want to get that, you just go for the you splurge. You get the SUV and then you splurge for like the
You got to go buy
the
like a
sports
fucking
car.
Mustang.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
the actual like muscle car or whatever. When you talk cars, I'm so out of the loop. I know that already.
All you know about cars is that you drive them until they're so wrecked beyond repair that you get another one.
I think we're back. I think we're in the market. I think we're officially
That's
a couple
what I-
months away. We're in the market.
Is it falling apart on you?
No, I think it's just time. Paid it off. We're ready to roll.
That is the worst not the worst and the best life to be living. Once it's paid off, because you're like, I don't have a payment anymore. But at the same time, you like your brain can't stop itself from like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
Like now that it's paid off, I want to like you got to the finish line and now you're like, well, now I'm going to just start all over again.
See,
like
I'm
I don't know
not
why
that
we
way.
do that.
Like I'm not that way. Like I
Passenger
bought a
seat
Right.
features.
I bought a Lexus.
That's what I'm looking up.
in the first place because I wanted to pay it off and then not have a car payment for like 5 years, which I successfully did.
I'm doing the exact opposite. I paid it off and I'm
But
ready to get back in.
Here's the thing. Knowing what I know now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy this new Lexus and I'm going to sell it back to the dealership before I get to 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
And then get a
Yep.
good trade value on another car. So I'll just keep upgrading.
In-laws do that a lot. Yep.
I was going
Seems
to
to be
do
the
that.
way to go, Bob.
I was going to do that with the F950, but the problem was like with what Carey's talking about with the price of everything going. My truck was worth way too much to keep it. I was like, I got to
know,
sell
it's
this thing. Like
insane.
it was just an insane value what I sold it for, and kind of the same deal with what Carey was talking about with his car being told. When Carey told me that number, Tiffany drives a Lexus, and I was like, I kind of wish I would have driven that to Oklahoma and let that bastard get
just
totaled
go
too.
on
Like,
weather.com and seek out hailstorms and just drive
Exactly.
there for a while.
Josh, what were you doing in New Hampshire with your wife's car? I don't know, but you know what? Total that bastard.
They gave me over double Blue Book value for my car.
That's beautiful.
I was shocked. So
Do we need to set up a sponsorship? I mean, they're kind of sponsoring you. Do they want to sponsor the podcast?
who, Kelly Blue Book?
No,
State
your
Farm?
insurance company. Yes, okay, that's what we're going. Hey,
Oh,
State Farm, give us a call.
You're gonna make Comrade Static really mad if you keep going down this line. He's been asking to sponsor the pod for I'm not even lying, for 4 years.
Sign him up.
Do you know how much we charge to be on the pod?
What? He can pay it. He's rich.
Well, I don't know if State Farm agents are getting rich right now.
Well, they helped us out over here.
Well, what he's most mad about is that he's not my agent. It's the old guy whose son I went to high school with.
I'd be
in
pissed off
Duncan.
too.
Yeah. And I'm gonna change that.
Here's doing that thing like he's doing it where he's
no,
like,
I'm
don't
not.
talk about
I'm
it.
not.
Don't talk about
I'll
it.
talk about anything. I don't care.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That was the worst.
Now every State
go ahead.
Farm agent that listens to the pod is going to be emailing me. Why won't you change
Yeah,
to
just
me?
hit up Carey. Don't hit up me, Josh, or Bob.
Absolutely.
Why is it just me? There's four
I
of us
likely
here.
don't even live in a state that you are licensed to operate in, so I'm fine. You don't want me anyway. But I can hook you up with my friend James down the street. Plays for the Rockets or did. So that's we can work that out. That's probably a good policy.
I can't wait to get this car and come to your house. Well, will I even be let in your neighborhood? Is there like a gate?
Oh, you are gonna
Lexus? Yeah. I think it probably opens.
I have the poor Lexus though. It's not like the LS.
Hey, we're not that kind of neighborhood. If you drive a car that has a brand of car that has a model that sells for roughly $100,000, you can come in. But if you don't, then you're gonna need to know somebody.
So
You have to go cover a game at
Kias.
Houston Episcopal and get a parking pass and then go in there.
Yes, a Houston Episcopal parking pass will get you into our neighborhood.
Okay, so there's enough. Sports. Okay, we'll talk.
Hey,
sports.
welcome back to those of you who fast
Yes.
forwarded.
Eddie, put that in the rundown.
Eddie,
this is when the podcast starts for you that don't like our bullshit.
You can start listening now.
Well, let's start with hoops. Josh, I'm sorry. You got to have some fun.
Okay.
Just
See you later,
kidding.
microphone.
Just kidding. We'll check back when you can start listening.
To mark it down after this segment. That's when it starts.
But everything has been finalized on the coach. Was that we did that? What was the pod last week, right?
Yep.
But there's been some names. There's been some dominoes that have fallen on the recruiting trail. Let's go over that, Bob, and tell everybody. Bryce Thompson, obviously, one that is out there that you've heard some things on and expect. I assume you expect that at any time now, maybe even today on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, it depends when some people are going to be listening to this. It might already have happened, but in the next 24, 48 hours at the most, I expect Bryce Thompson to go public with his decision. I was told by multiple sources right around like 9:30 p.m. or so, it just went nuts. It just saying Bryce's decision is in. Now it's when he wants to go public. Everyone thinks it's going to be Oklahoma State. And, it's just the familiarity that he has with Mike Boynton and Keaton Page and the Sutton family, and that no matter what Porter Moser and the newly assembled staff, because he did give OU another crack now that David Patrick was hired last week. It was
The
just
guy they got
too
from
much
Arkansas.
to overcome.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Knowing what you know of Bryce and what he is looking for, is it possible? I mean, obviously OU is still going after him, but is it possible that it wasn't a fit as well?
See, I thought it was. I thought
Okay.
OU's roster was made perfectly for him. You've got the defensive-oriented point guard in Jordan Goldwire, and you've got guys that'll do the dirty work like Elijah Harkless and Tanner Groves. Now you need your scorer, and that's what Bryce Thompson wants to be because that's what he wasn't at Kansas. And then you compare that OSU. I don't know if Avery Anderson wants to become a big-time scorer. We saw what he did at West Virginia when Cade Cunningham was out. But then Avery announces Sunday he's coming back. Rondell Walker's coming back. You got a lot of nice pieces in the backcourt for the Cowboys that I don't know where Bryce fits in, or you make him fit, and then you see what happens with some of those other guys. I think you know what Bryce wants to be. He doesn't want to be what he was in Lawrence. He's not a point guard, but he wants to have the ball in his hands a lot, and he wants to be the focal point of the offense. And I think he's going to earn that right. But I'm just sort of wondering, does that gel with what was already on the roster in Stillwater compared to what I thought Porter Moser had crafted perfectly to where he was the missing ingredient for the Sooners?
You know, it's kind of crazy. You go back 2 weeks and you would have thought, you know, of the three that were out there with state ties, Bryce Thompson transferring back from Kansas, Jackson Robinson from A&M, and then Trey Alexander getting out of his letter of intent with Auburn, you kind of would have thought that Oklahoma was going to get at least one of those three. Fast forward to current day, doesn't sound like they're going to get Bryce Thompson. Jackson Robinson is committed to Arkansas, and it doesn't sound like Trey Alexander's in the picture. I guess in a way, should OU fans be disappointed with that outcome? And then I guess on the flip side of that, they still have 2 scholarships. What are they going to do?
Right, and that's the thing, because the perception's going to be they went 0 for 3. There's no doubt about it. That's how it's going to be painted. Comes to Jackson Robinson. OU reached out initially, like that first 2-3 days he was in the portal. They reached out, and then they backed off. They made a decision somewhere along the road where either they wanted to go all in on Bryce or they didn't feel Jackson was the fit they needed. They moved away. Oregon and Arkansas became the 2 schools to watch. Jackson made his announcement Tuesday to Arkansas. Now, Musselman commented, so that must be he must have signed too. I was sort of wondering. There'd been so many people telling me that Jackson's family want him to be a Sooner, that they were saying, oh, he would decommit from the school he picks just to come back to try to be with the Sooners. But if Musselman's talking about it and it's all over their official account, he must have signed as well. So now that's out the door. Trey Alexander spoke to our Rob Cassidy last weekend in Memphis at the Iverson Classic, and he mentioned Arkansas and Iowa State first and foremost. Because, again, what Trey Alexander wants to be is sort of Trey Young light. He really does. That's the sort of the vision that his family has seen for him the entire time. And I don't know if that vision fits in with what Porter Moser is bringing to the table. So it's going to look really weird to see an Ada kid, Heritage Hall, Booker T, and you might just end up once again with all 3 of them not being a Sooner. And it means I have to still keep going to work. I was ready to chill a bit. I've been working the basketball stuff ever since Lon retired, just going nonstop the last 5-6 weeks. I was like, they get Bryce, they bring in the Australian big man with connections to David Patrick, and then I can breathe for a couple weeks. But no, if they don't get Bryce, that means you got to figure it out. You can't just let a scholarship be open in this day and age. And there's guys going in the portal left and right every single day. So you know that they can still maybe find someone, but that elite scorer, that wing that I don't think OU needs another point guard that just happens to be able to score. I think they need someone with size, and that's why Bryce Thompson really fit the mold so well as to what they were looking to do. But we're a couple weeks away from all the kids coming back to campus, and so there's still time to try to get something done. But I was very much excited toward Akol Wayne and Bryce Thompson being OU's final 2 scholarships, and then me disappearing for like a week or 2.
Well, you've done a fantastic job, and I know I was over at Eskridge the other day. We were just test driving, and Ed was telling me I don't normally follow basketball, but I really enjoyed reading Bob's thread and keeping up with it on everything that's going on. So you have done a fantastic job. Okay, you can mark this, Eddie. Now we'll talk football. Okay. We talked to Lincoln Riley, kind of the final. That was last Friday, right? It seems like it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Was it last?
Was it last?
It was
last Thursday.
Yeah,
last Thursday.
It was after we recorded.
So, kind of his exit interview for the spring, where he...
I just love the ending of it was, all right, we'll talk to you in August.
Well, no, he said, y'all have a nice summer.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And that was insinuating.
And I was like, what the f***? Like, we're not going to talk until you go to camp again? Like,
I guess the only time we would talk with Bob, with Stoops was when? he would have
caravans.
Yeah, he would have
exist now.
he would have the couple caravans, and I have no idea what
Those
the plan is for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing that anymore at all. I mean,
and I think that was kind of pre-pandemic too, wasn't it? Like
they tried like that fan fest thing, like at the fairgrounds or whatever. At they had that thing at the Coca-Cola building.
I forgot about that.
But they literally stopped doing the caravans.
I think that in looking back on it, that was probably the point that Bob said when he was out there throwing out routes to 5-year-olds. He's probably like, all right.
I do remember that.
I need to retire. I'm getting out of here.
They were trying a lot of different things just to kind of outreach, and times have changed. So I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody about what they'll plan to do moving forward. But I mean, it is weird, guys, because you see OU actively trying to get season ticket holders because a lot of people just haven't come back. I mean, this is something that we've never seen before, and it's not just Oklahoma. I think it's everywhere. But you've got a lot of people that let their season tickets go and haven't renewed, so you don't have a waiting list anymore.
What is that? What is the number at? If you guys had to guess right now, because my family was asking me about that on Sunday over at Mother's Day lunch.
How many season ticket holders they have?
And they're all season ticket holders. My aunts and uncles, parents, obviously. They're all locked in. They didn't give them up or anything, but they continue to get like hey, you interested in maybe buying a couple more?
Yeah.
I kind of figured, my response was I kind of figured that everything is still sold out, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
I think part of it too is the allotment to other teams have dwindled to almost nothing. Yeah. I mean, like you don't have 2,500 tickets that you're saving for the opposing team anymore. It's in the hundreds. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it's going on with everything. It's going on with the Thunder. It's going on with Oklahoma. You could say Oklahoma State, but they've always, struggled to sell. But, when it was all capacity, they were still not selling like 80,000 season tickets. It was in the 60s range. So I'm not sure if they're in the 40s or the 50s or where they are.
I have no idea.
I think part of the problem is people just don't realize it. Like, we see it.
Yeah.
Because we get, emails all the time.
Well, and I think that there's a lot of people, and, including people in my demographic, and I know we've talked about this before, but they have kids now. And, they 20 years ago probably would have bought season tickets. But nowadays, with the way that the third-party ticket market is, you can buy tickets on Thursday, and, you don't need the tickets, so you don't have to have, the actual physical ticket. And they'll go down. You don't have to spend all day. Don't have to take the kids.
I'm going to be interested to see what happens with the inventory now that you're going back to a full schedule.
I would think early in the season it's going to be
the Bally Sports Oklahoma thing. I mean,
yeah.
How does that play out? Is Fox? I assume Fox is selling rights to Bally, or Bally's buying the rights.
Who knows
to
what
show
they're doing.
games?
That is a rough operation, just from what I've seen with the Thunder.
I mean, it's rough if you have streaming because they just can't reach carriage deals with YouTube TV or
but even
Hulu
even the set that Nancy Lieberman and John Radigan use is
it's all the same.
Low rent as
it's all the same as Fox Sports regional.
Was it though?
Yeah, they
were using that
all the
just
people
terrible background. And
it's
stuff?
all the people that were working on Fox Sports.
I guess
stuff.
that tells you how much I've been paying attention to the Thunder here the last couple months.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously them just wanting to plaster Bally's over everything.
Yeah.
For the rebrand. I mean, I would rather see the court, in the post game with Michael and Chris, but they want to throw Bally's in your face. So, but I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that, because the reason I bring that up is because you talk about people have been staying at home because it is easier to watch games on television or gather with friends, or, I mean, hell, look at Oklahoma City now. It's such a different town than it was when we were all growing up. It's become a gathering place.
Sure.
You can go downtown, watch a game with friends, go to Scissortail Park afterward. I mean, make a whole day out of it.
Yeah.
There's just other attractions and other reasons. just coming to Norman. Like, I would still be doing it, like, with my friends and his family. Like, I'd still be making a day out of going to Norman. And most people, I think, still will. But like you're talking about, when you have kids and you might have a morning basketball game or something.
You got to be completely honest, too. There's not a lot of people that want to do that for Kansas or Tech. It's
a Big 12.
It's yeah. There's not a lot of people banging down doors to get into the OU Iowa State game. We know that that's a good game, but on paper, I don't think that the average college football fan would just be jazzed up about something like that as opposed to something else.
Is it weird to think that game would feel bigger in September because the preseason ranking for the Cyclones is going to be crazy, and we don't know how good they'll be end of November?
Yeah. I was a little surprised that they didn't put it at the beginning of September. It was a guaranteed top 7-ish matchup at least.
Well, let's wait and see who who Iowa State loses to in the non-conference.
Well, they're going to lose to Iowa.
You've got to give Iowa State time to get over the Iowa loss.
Get the Cyhawk.
That's
true.
They screw it up every year for the conference.
If they do it again this year, it's going to be bad.
But,
BPI hasn't played in the semifinals.
Back to Lincoln Riley and kind of, the press conference last Thursday, the exit press conference. He did confirm that Seth McGowan and Trajan Bridges were off the team, which was a good thing to do before charges were officially filed and warrants were issued.
The very next day.
Yes.
That is, they put it this way, they didn't get any favors done within the crime system, right?
I would say
threw the book at them.
No.
They didn't?
No.
Okay.
I thought you meant OU didn't get any favors.
No.
I'm sure that Greg Mashburn probably let Joe C. or Joe Harris or all of the above, Lincoln Riley, know files are getting ready to be charged, or someone from the district attorney's office, because from what I was told, that was how it was coming down, that they were going to have to file those charges because the police, the Norman Police Department, didn't have the necessary things in order to be able to charge them, so the DA had to overlook the case and then filed the charges. So I'm sure when we talked to Lincoln, he knew, like, okay, this is the heat's coming down on him tomorrow or in the next 24. We got to go ahead and make the decision. And
Eddie, you noticed it right away with the online roster. I'd been checking that like sporadically, like every couple days. But about 10 minutes before we started talking with Lincoln, you noticed it.
Yeah,
right?
It was one of those things that I had been checking like you for so long. It's kind of like other things that we have to check on a daily basis that I was like, wait a second, there's no 1. I was like, there's no 8 either. They're screwed. And then, of course, we knew that we were talking to Lincoln. It was like, okay, this makes sense.
I don't know that I've ever seen an alleged crime covered in the way that one was, ever. Like, no charges. Like, normally people would get arrested, and then you would find them in the police blotter. But to go from, how do we? It started as rumors. I mean, everybody kind of heard rumors that it was those. It was all over our boards, and we had to
that Friday morning from the Thursday night incident. Yeah, it already started.
Basically, woke up to it, I think. Oh yeah, because it was you, and you were like, basically, hey, we might. And it's one of those things. It's like you got to check into everything because of the obvious that's out there nowadays, and it's like, God, that doesn't sound good. But maybe there was nothing to it.
Well, and what happened? Here's how it all went down. So the board was just. I mean, at that point, it almost reached fact status on the board. Everybody was mentioning Trajan Bridges. Everybody was mentioning Seth McGowan. And I'd gotten tipped off, like, hey, they were someone called me who had a source whose job was to sit and listen to a police scanner. That was his line of work that he was in. And he heard both those names the night before. And then I found out that you could go back and listen to archived copies of police radio. What am I thinking? Just chatter. And so I went back and listened to it. And this was Saturday morning, I guess, by the time we started doing this.
Yeah,
and
Saturday afternoon.
So I just reported what was said on the police blotter, just said, this is all alleged. And there was no victim statement. And I think Eric Bailey then got the 911 call and posted it
on Sunday night.
And John Hoover had gotten in touch with.
He was the one that put it out, basically
officer.
the statement from OU, and it was like, oh shit. Okay,
well, he got the statement from the officer.
That was like when it started clicking.
suspensions.
Like, okay, there's a lot something here.
And then I'm trying to think. The next thing was the apartment stuff, that he had been evicted from his apartment, Trajan Bridges.
Yeah, that's like a week and a half later.
And all this stuff had happened and been reported on and out there without any charges being filed. Like, I've never seen anything like that before.
No, I think that they were, obviously having to, I don't know how to say it, like, basically, they had to take it seriously.
And besides the apartment thing, it had the victim's statement about everything that happened. So, like, you actually had the victim on record in print on a public document
saying, this is who did this.
This is who did this, and this is what they did, and they threatened to kill me, and they pointed a gun in my face, and both of them had guns, and then you had, it was just insane. Like,
at the end of the day, it's just it's pathetic on their part, and then really sad because they've ruined their lives. Literally have ruined their lives because they needed to go get some weed. Or steal some weed? Like, that's still just as...
When half of Campus Corner is a dispensary now.
It's still all-time stupid. All you have to do is, call somebody and they'll go get it for you.
If you got a girlfriend,
it's incredible. The amount of stupidity... And then, I'm almost just angry at the kid for no reason, but, how stupid can you be, Trajan Bridges? You literally were suspended for more than half the season.
And for those of us that covered him in high school, it doesn't make any sense.
No, and just for the family and stuff, it's just terrible.
It doesn't make
it's
any
awful.
sense.
It's awful. And in a way, it sucks for his little brother that has to go through all this as far as the recruitment goes now.
I saw Jason Howell post something about his little brother, and he looks so much like
Dakota. Yeah,
Dakota. He looks so much like Trajan.
Yeah,
and I saw that, and I thought to myself, "Oh shit! This is really screwing him over." That was the first time I had that realization.
Yeah, not to mention that his big brother ruined his life. Just messed up. Sad. Really sad.
And there's no way he's going to Oklahoma.
No, probably not.
That ship has sailed. If I'm Jack Bridges, there's no way in hell I'd send my kid to Oklahoma after.
Not Oklahoma's fault that his other son's a dumbass.
Yeah, but if you're a parent and
You find a way to, yeah.
Sure, I get it. Yep. I understand. I get it.
I'm sure there's, I'm not saying it's rational. I'm just saying I'm sure there's some blame.
Yeah, definitely.
Just as a parent, you're like, how did I?
It's only human. It's only human.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
You're going to believe in someone you care about.
We were all pretty tight with Bridges, but you seem to have a better inroads with McGowan's people. Have you talked to them at all? Or, I think we were all super shocked at the 1 year transformation from what we thought we knew of him at Poteet compared to what we'd heard throughout the last 3-4 months in Norman.
Guys, he's the one that stuns me, and I want to be careful about what I'm saying there because I'm not saying I thought Trajan would go down this path, but Trajan kind of had a tough dude rep. He wanted to be that tough guy. McGowan was valedictorian or was up for that running in his class. If there's any guy in the class, I would have said that's not going to be him. He'd have been on the very short list. I just did not see this coming for him. And when I talk to people, there is just this genuine, what happened here? Because, you got to remember, guys, this is a guy that hardly played his senior year at Poteet because they were thinking so far down the road of, okay, he's going to get to Oklahoma, going to, be part of a multi-running back, group. Probably won't be too worn down, and then we can get him onto the NFL. That's the way they were looking at it. And for it to go this way is just it's like something happened. What changed for this kid? Because Bob, you interviewed him a couple times. This is a very yes sir, no sir, just a very level-headed kid. You never got any of this vibe from him. And like I said, there are guys that We've mentioned one that's on the roster now that you're like, that's kind of a scary dude. You don't know. But most of the guys you're like, they're fine. Just a normal high school kid, no big deal. And then you've got some guys that want to be tough guys and that kind of stuff, but like you still don't take them seriously. But Seth McGowan was nowhere near my radar. Like nothing could surprise me more. Like last year when all the stuff started coming around about why he wasn't playing more, why this wasn't going on, you started hearing these stories and you were like, that can't be right. That's not Seth McGowan. That guy is, like I thought he was going to pull, he was going to be the, on the all Big 12 honor roll and, leading the team in rushing, like doing all these great things. It's just crazy how things change in a year. Because, guys, you remember a year ago, he was one of the, like, Mario Williams kind of buzz guys. Yep. Like, everybody was like, Seth McGowan's unbelievable. He's great. And now we're here.
Yeah. And I guess in a way makes a little bit more sense when you put everything together as far as the McGowan thing goes. I don't know. It's like after the fact, it always seems like people are ready to talk shit on people, but like everybody that I talked to in Norman said, this doesn't really surprise us. I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
No,
it's amazing how quickly something can
surprise
change.
Me. Yeah, I thought Jack being as involved as he is, and I didn't think Trajan was like a bad kid. He just kind of like you get it from the suburbs guys sometimes. Like they want to be to show everybody, like I'm tough, I'm this or I'm that. And I got a little bit of that, but that's normal. I didn't think anything of it, and I certainly didn't think it would come to where it has. It's crazy.
And that's not always a bad thing because that's why he was the best guy at the Rivals Challenge. Because it's that same type of attitude.
I think there is something to that, Bob. I mean, like you talk about those kind of like they've got a chip on their shoulder. They got something they want to prove that they can do it with anybody. And like I said, when you look at physical talent, Trajan wasn't the same as Jaden or Theo. But I thought he burned hotter. Like he was a guy that just wanted to compete, like just wanted to go out and beat you at anything.
Outside of that, I think we can finally put this to bed, and I don't think we have to really deal with it a whole lot more.
I think we all can agree, thank God.
I mean, hopefully those guys can turn things around. Hopefully they don't spend time in jail, but when you're charged with a felony, you kind of take that out of your hands.
Yeah. You put yourself in a pretty bad situation.
Actually, when you rob someone at gunpoint, you kind of take your future out of your hands.
Yeah, and that's why I refer back to the, I don't even know what it is. I guess a graph that I've made before, and I put it out there, but it has felony. Should I commit a felony? And there's a branch for no and a branch for yes.
Chart.
It's a flow chart. Yeah. Every time I go left and I say no felonies.
Maybe what are the good results that come out of yes? Are there good bubbles that go that way?
You end up a politician.
Oh, God.
Notice I didn't.
You were
either side.
You're bipartisan.
Either side of the aisle. Either side of the aisle. Who you want to be, Matt Gaetz, or you want to be Nancy Pelosi? Both scumbags.
Okay. So outside of that, did we take anything out of what Lincoln said late last week, or was it just all
as far as what? Like I'm honestly trying to
big picture questions, like people doing their own, the playoff expansion, Oklahoma drill, like a lot of stuff that didn't pertain to immediate team business, which is okay because that's the time you do it.
The last time you're going to get to talk to somebody for a few months.
Yep.
I think it's it kind of you roll your eyes at the idea, but I think he likes this squad. It's about getting over the next couple months without any major speed bumps, major injuries, and then you get into August and you can really kind of crank it up a little bit. And I think that the expectations that are there is going to be something that we've talked about since the end of the Cotton Bowl. Like there's an expectation for this Oklahoma football team to not just compete, but to play for a national title. And I think anything less than that, given you have no injuries or you have no major malfunctions within the team, like it would be disappointing to the fan base if they're not playing in a national title game.
It's going to be, and I think Lincoln is trying his best to prepare him for this, but it really is going to be, there's a lot on Spencer Rattler's shoulders. And like you see him right now, they let out and he's already back home training. He's out there lifting on his own, working out, throwing footballs.
I know there's like nothing you can do to prepare yourself for this, but even watching him like throwing footballs and rolling out and stuff, like I can't be the only person that's thinking like, God, if he bangs a knee or something right now, it's like he will be killed. But you have to, I mean, he would be doing that here in Norman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You should stop thinking that, though.
Well,
all I think about is don't comment, because he'll block you again.
Well, that could happen too.
Like, don't be a jackass. Because that one time he was throwing those passes behind his back, like 30 yards down the field, and I did the capital lowercase, like, how's that going to help us win football games? Right. And he blocked me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think he would understand the sarcasm.
He unblocked me.
Yeah, he would understand the sarcasm.
He unblocked me. But no, I mean, but there's a lot riding on his shoulders, and it's not about Caleb Williams. I mean, it's about like what I saw today when people are out there, like, I think it was like somebody from 24/7, and they're like,
Jalen Hurts?
No, it wasn't a Jalen Hurts.
Sorry, I heard
it wasn't Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts was happening.
It was comparing him like he's the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes since Patrick Mahomes, and I'm just like, that's a lot to put on a kid. Like, you're trying to compare him to Patrick Mahomes.
It is,
when he's had 1 year as a starter in college.
It is, but isn't that what you want?
But that's what he's going to go through. Like, that's just what's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
That's what he's been going through since sophomore year of high school.
When we're sitting here saying, but we're sitting here saying he's not even Baker yet. He's not even Kyler. He's not. I mean, he's not that guy. We know he's not there yet. But everyone else on the outside is going to spend all offseason painting him as the number one pick in the draft, as the next Patrick Mahomes, as the next Aaron Rodgers. They're going to talk about his footwork. They're going to talk about his arm talent. Like, it's going to be the Spencer Rattler hype train from here until August.
Sure.
Not that it hasn't already been.
Rattler's never, and I guess we've only talked to him such limited basis as far as like post-game stuff, get him for a midweek thing for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. You're never really around him because of the obvious, but like he's never struck me as somebody that can't handle it. And I guess there's no reason to think that, or there's been no examples of him not being able to handle it. But I think that like the way that he handled the benching in Dallas is a good example of how he can handle everything else.
I'll say this. I remember staying up all night to watch that QB1 thing. Mm-hmm. And people commented on how he kind of seemed like a cock.
He did seem like a little bit of a dick, but I think that every five-star kid like that...
No, but what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is I don't see that Spencer Rattler anymore. Like, I think he's matured.
Sure.
I think he's playing the role now. He's not the cocky five-star.
As much as I dislike the guy, I think Jalen Hurts just being around him and maybe having a little bit of a... I never knew what their relationship was like. Like, I don't think that they were necessarily buddy-buddy. I don't think that Jalen was buddy-buddy with anybody on that team, to be honest with you, outside of maybe a handful of people. But, like, I think
Charleston Rambo?
Yeah, for sure.
Possibly.
Tight.
Possibly in a I want to kill you type of way. But, like, I don't know. I think that was good for him, being able to kind of get humbled a little bit by a guy that walked in and didn't really give a shit about him. I think that...
Well, I don't know. I see Rattler doing that with Caleb.
Same,
and I don't know if that's going to
absolutely
mean anything going down the road, but I'm not seeing that same mentorship.
Yeah, they can say that, like,
I think that there's...
We never talked to Caleb, even though, we tried to. Mm-hmm. But I get the sense that if it was all, if it was like his friend's son, to use semi-pro language, vernacular, if they were like, if it was like his friend's son and they really got along, I think we probably would have talked to Caleb Williams. That's just my conspiracy theory of the day.
I think that's what you want, though.
I think Lincoln didn't want
breeds...
Caleb Williams to talk because Caleb Williams is in there to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, and he gives no fucks.
Sure.
I think there's some Favre Rodgers stuff going on there. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like,
bit,
they're
right?
both good. They both can play. but they don't want to necessarily be in the same locker room with each other. Which is fine. They don't have to be for long.
Would love to be a fly on the wall in those quarterback meeting rooms over the last 4 or 5 years.
Because I don't know how Baker and Kyler did it. I thought those two would implode on each other.
And that was the thing. I think the fact that they just I think Kyler actually, if you're going to talk about a quarterback that grew from watching another quarterback, I think it's Kyler.
I could see that. But I also think at the same time, he was around there, obviously, but he was also going through baseball. I think Kyler was just so busy and I think that, in a way, Baker has kind of an endearing personality that he probably made it a lot easier than somebody that doesn't have that type of personality would have.
Yeah.
Kyler and Jalen Hurts might have tried to kill each other.
Kyler had his own, he had Bobby Evans. He had some of his Allen guys.
Sure.
Around. He had Lee Morris.
Sure.
I mean, he had some of his crew to bolster his whatever he was in the locker room.
I don't feel like Baker is capable of a Cold War. We're not going to talk to each other. We're going to be standoffish. Baker's going to address the elephant in the room. Look, man, we can cuss at each other. We can do whatever, but it's going to be out in the open. As to where these two, I don't know. Carey, you talked about Rattler maybe not being that guy. I think he's still that guy. I think Spencer has become better at how to present himself. No, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I think most great quarterbacks are cocky guys. That's fine. I don't care. That's part of the game. But I just think he better understands okay, this is what this looks like. This is how I'm gonna present myself. And let's face it, the last year has made that easier. It's not like he's constantly in front of people Mayfield had to be in post-game press conferences and those kind of things. He's sitting there talking to a computer. It's easy to not be swept up in the moment with things.
But at the same time, they also have to cheer for each other because if Rattler doesn't succeed, that means that Caleb Williams is going to have to wait even longer, right?
Yep.
They need to both work together.
I don't know. I bet Caleb Williams thinks if he doesn't succeed, I'll just come in and take the job.
Well, then I'm worried about his mental state.
I just think that's how all athletes are.
Sure.
Right.
I don't think Caleb Williams thinks that Spencer Rattler is better than he is.
I think that goes into
100%.
something as far as team success, though, doesn't it? I mean, they're all technically working toward the same thing.
But that's always with every team. That's let's not paint this out to be some Disney movie.
Sure.
I mean, every locker room has jealousy.
Oh, it's just like the spring
all
stuff.
That
It's
stuff.
Every offensive lineman thinks he should start right now. Of course they do.
Yeah.
Well, it's guys, we're talking about quarterbacks because it's what people focus on. You think Latrell McCutcheon doesn't think he should start over either Graham or Washington? I guarantee you he does.
Yeah, 100%.
That kid is as confident as anybody I've ever met. And that's the way his brain operates. So it's not just isolated. It's just that's more fun to talk about because these are, probably a couple of top 5 picks whenever their day comes.
And see, let me explain the Rattler thing in a better way probably. I think you saw him on QB1. He came off as kind of a little shit. I mean, he came off as a guy that knew he was better than everybody else. And there was some arrogance there. I think now that he's been in college, that he's played, that he's even been benched, I think he comes at it from a mindset, not that he's hiding it. I think he just has been humbled a little bit. That's kind of what I was
maybe.
meaning.
Yeah, no, and you might be right. We'll see. I would love.
But
talking about being a fly on the wall.
If he's the leading Heisman and the number 1 pick in the draft, and it's become pretty clear, I could see the little shit coming back.
Oh,
and I think you get to if you're doing that. That opens the door.
I mean, that's not to say that Kyler didn't have some of that Baker didn't have some of that.
Oh, they all did.
Yeah.
They're undefeated. They crush Iowa State. He's clearly the Heisman favorite. OU looks like they're destined for the playoff. You telling me some of that, what we saw with his backup quarterback that was really good too, he doesn't throw a little jab at Caleb Williams? Bull,
absolutely.
That's coming. That will happen.
Remember, he was a dick to the backup quarterback at his high school.
Oh, he was awful to him.
Right. Yeah. That's what Josh was saying. Yeah.
And that was the best part is the kid wasn't where did he end up going? I don't think that he was necessarily just a scrub.
Well, he was going to go to Michigan, and then I think he had some sort of neck issue or chronic.
Okay.
He never got to play. He had to retire from the sport, but he was an Elite 11 guy. You're talking about a big time dude. And Spencer talked to him like he was one of us, just trash.
Well,
nobody.
maybe Spencer knew. Maybe Spencer's so smart he was ahead of his time and didn't respect him because he knew his body was breaking down.
He sensed it. He could smell the weakness.
Yeah, exactly. He smelled the blood in the water
when it rains.
Yeah,
They just know.
exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that whole dynamic, it's always. I mean, it was with Baker and Kyler. It's always a potentially combustible situation.
Is that basically like half of Lincoln's? Not half, but I wonder how much focus he has to put into
because
his.
Those are his
how
guys.
much energy he has to put into that.
A lot.
Like just basically managing ego.
God, the shit he must have to put up with.
No wonder he doesn't want to put up with our shit.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
It's like, damn, I'd go through this every day.
But, I don't want to go over a whole spring preview. I mean, we've already kind of done that. I mean, what else Lincoln said? It was, like you said, it was a lot of big picture stuff.
Right. I'm trying to think what I wrote. I wrote about the safeties, how without Pat Fields, but that's stuff we've kind of talked about too. And we Colt Atkinson and Drake Stoops, we did the walk-on thing.
Obi Obiala's not a part of the program anymore.
Obiala,
I mean,
is not playing football.
I haven't slept
anymore.
since that news came to light.
Did he suit up for one game last year?
Well, he played.
Iowa State.
He played in the Iowa State game, dropped a touchdown.
Touchdown.
But then after that, he just disappeared.
He was out on the sideline though. So something must have happened to where
I think
he was hurt initially, played in Ames, and then he was hurt again, and we just never heard from him.
I mean, honestly, I thought the Perrion Winfrey, like just the recruitment of Perrion Winfrey and kind of the juggling balance between taking JUCO kids, which is kind of proven to, I guess, be a good thing for Oklahoma here with, expected with Harrington and then the three defensive tackles,
Stokes
Isaiah Coe,
good,
Joshua Ellison. And Stokes, is a kind of a guy that has been lost in the mix when we talk about defensive line just because he kind of had the weird year last year. He missed a lot of time with injury.
Right.
But how you balance going back into JUCOs as opposed to recruiting high school kids is kind of interesting.
And the portal.
Yeah,
that's where it's really,
absolutely.
And I've had some coaches already say that the portal is going to kill junior college. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's a line of thinking that's out there because you'll just take someone from like a mid-major or a Power 5 school that they're not happy and just take them to your school instead of looking at the junior college kid now.
I mean, I think it might kill the junior college system more than it will kill kids, that can contribute coming from junior college.
Let's be honest, the JUCO system as a whole, I mean, some places are getting by, like the Iowa Westerns are getting by, but I mean, didn't Arizona just completely eliminate JUCO football?
Yep.
You're going to streamline a lot of places that probably should have been streamlined a while ago.
Yeah.
And some of that, I mean, probably for the better. I know
that's
bolster
like
people
a
are losing
Jayhawk
jobs and stuff like that, but like I kind of liken it to like when Stanford eliminates women's water polo. Like, should that really be a Division I sport? Sorry, I don't think it should.
Josh, this feels wrong to put you on the spot, but did you think anyone from the JUCO season this spring stood out and made an impression?
I haven't heard any names come up, and I kept kind of expecting to. It sounds, and I guess, you think about it, Bob, it kind of lends credence to what you're talking about. I had been told, kind of before the whole McGowan Bridges situation, that they were going to kind of look at defensive end, they were going to look at a wide receiver, and they were going to look at tight end is kind of what I had gotten. Now, Mike Woods seems to address that, but with Bridges going to that, does that put another guy back in that possibility? McGowan going, you've got to think they're looking for a running back if the right guy were to come about. I don't think there's anybody that has really stepped to the forefront. I certainly haven't heard anyone that they're now involved with in the junior college ranks. So it's kind of hard to gauge because so many guys went ahead and signed early. There's Isaiah Coe being a perfect example. Guys just went ahead and signed, didn't take part in the season. So it's a little bit of a lesser pool anyway. And then you add in that these guys were going to play this spring and then turn around and go through summer workouts and be ready to play in the fall. Like there's some questions with that. Like, do we bring this guy in and his body falls apart on us? What do we do with that?
How about a blast from a past name that had kind of come up during the spring JUCO season? Tavion Thomas signing or committing, I guess, with Utah. Did I see that right?
Him and Pledger finally playing together.
It was always meant to be. He actually looked a lot better from the pictures that I saw from his season up at, what was it? Was it Butler or Independence?
Independence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was I completely forgot about the name, and then I forgot that he wasn't at Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yeah.
It's wild.
Did he make it into Cincinnati? I can't remember how that whole thing actually went down.
Yeah.
He did. He made it. He played his freshman year.
Hopefully it works out for him. I didn't. You know who was at Utah that I didn't realize? He was 15 for 15 in the spring game. Quarterback.
Rising.
Charlie.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was. Is Charlie Brewer at Utah?
Is that right?
I think so.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I had no idea that. I remember he left Baylor, but I didn't realize that he ended up at Utah.
Because I think we all thought Brewer would go SMU, and instead Mordecai did, and then Brewer went Utah.
Charlie Brewer's kind of endeared himself to me because he just has no regard for anything about his body.
Charlie Brewer should have played like the 70s. Like, he would have been like the perfect guy. That guy's just a warrior. Just got his bell rung. Nope. He's concussed. Like, he doesn't know where he is right now.
That's mean to laugh at.
Yeah, do you think Charlie Brewer knows what college he's at right now?
Seriously. He's like, is this not BYU? Shit. Okay.
Well, now I feel bad because I thought Eddie was talking about Cameron Rising, but I guess Brewer might be better than Rising.
Yeah, so I guess, Rising is out there, though, isn't he?
He was last year. I don't know if he...
Yeah, he still is. He still is.
Guys,
they'll have a little bit of a quarterback battle. And just look at Cameron Rising's updated Utah profile picture. Can't start him.
Is still a non-athletic head?
He kind of looks like he should be over in the arts program.
Has he got
Guys,
the
I've thought about
mustache
this a
going?
lot.
Yes.
Yep.
He was the start
Cam
of
Rising-
athletic head, or not athletic head. I think.
Can you start that guy?
Oh my God, that is. He's just a tattooed sleeve away from being a bartender.
Yeah, I like my bartenders, so I'm not going to say anything.
I mean, there's
Guys-
nothing wrong. I just don't want a bartender to be my quarterback.
That's true.
Let's say he signs with OU back in the day and the whole Texas thing doesn't happen.
Does Kurt Warner?
Does he negatively impact the way people look at Lincoln Riley's production of quarterbacks? Is he does Lincoln make him good, or is he the guy he's shown himself to be?
Do you get Spencer Rattler if you get Rising?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Like, it's amazing how that could have changed. It seemed so negative at the time and may have been the perfect thing for OU.
They get Kendall instead of Rising. Is that what it was?
No, it was Mordecai. They went and got Mordecai. That's
yeah,
right.
Mordecai.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the jury's still out on Tanner Mordecai, but
I mean, it's not like Mordecai has people questioning his prowess with
But
quarterbacks.
I mean, Mordecai wasn't his first choice. Like, Rising was his Rattler, was his Caleb
Yes.
Brock Vandegrift. Like, I mean, you go down the list. So
yeah, it might have
that's
affected
interesting.
getting Rattler.
Yeah. I mean, and I want to own it. I thought he was awesome. I thought Cameron Rising in high school was going to be a
Me
freaking
too.
dude.
Yep.
he still could be too. I guess it's still technically early in his career out there.
But I'd make a bet with him at Utah and Mordecai at SMU. I'd bet Mordecai ends up with a better college career.
I'm going to tell you.
I think I'd go with that as well, Josh.
I think just the eye
It's way
test.
better than Shane Buechele.
I think yours is going to be really good, but I also kind of am like, I don't know. Like, he throws
About
the ball.
yours?
Yeah, I mean, he throws the ball sometimes, and it looks funny coming out of his hand.
It's weird, and I've noticed. Like, I don't notice it on video. I notice it on pictures. Like, the way the ball will come out sometimes when I watch it thrown, I'm like, honestly, the first thing I think of is I'm like, that looks like an elbow injury waiting to happen. Like, that doesn't look right to me. There's something about it that looks wrong.
The way the nose comes out of his hand sometimes, it's really awkward looking.
Yep, it's strange. But
other
he's a
times
dude.
I see him
He's
throw,
great.
and I'm like, wow, he's really got an arm.
Yep.
And I don't know if he's changed his mechanics recently in the last year or something, and he's just kind of in between, and he's kind of, I don't know what it is, but there's just something I don't like, even though I like everything except for just a few throws here and there.
There is part of me that still wonders if OU, to make Caleb feel good about it, didn't tap the brakes a little bit on Ewers. Because I can flat out tell you there was a time and place when OU was where he was going.
I distinctly remember you basically saying, like, and maybe I'm thinking about somebody else, but it was almost like Ewers could commit in the next week or so type thing.
There was a point in time when I thought he was going to beat Caleb to the punch.
And that would have been going back all the way before July 4th of 2020, right?
Yep. I mean, this was about this time last year. It was clear that OU was out in front. And I mean, this isn't from OU sources. This is from people close to him. I don't know. Like I said, something just, because all of a sudden it was like, nope, just deals off. And I don't know what that was. And he committed to Texas real fast. It almost felt like a spite thing to me. Like I can't, and that's me connecting the dots. I don't want to make it sound like it. It was just funny the way it happened. The timing of all of it.
And it should also be noted that, I mean, it is pretty well known after the fact that he's grew up a Texas fan. So
sure,
everybody knows how that goes sometimes. Maybe he was butthurt about something that Texas did, and then it's like, well, I'm going to commit to OU, and then reality sets in, and he's like, I'm going to go home.
But then he's not going home.
He's going to Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jesus Christ.
So it doesn't matter.
He was going home for a while, but now he's going
For
to
a
Ohio
couple
State.
months.
Yeah.
It's like reality just slapped me in the face. I completely forgot about
He was
that.
early in
Caleb
the league.
Burton with them.
God bless.
Well, when you think about the history, I mean, you'd rather play quarterback for Tom Herman than Steve Sarkisian. That makes a lot of sense.
I completely forgot about that. My fault. Just eliminate that.
We all do it. It's no big deal.
I'm just kidding.
Same.
'Cause-
Yep.
No,
By the way,
Texas
let me.
has the kid from California.
I thought I had this fantastic point I just
for
made, though.
2022.
Here's the thing that is going to baffle me more than anything else in recent memory, and this is like stuff that we know, seeing kids in college. Like, if JT Daniels goes in and actually has a great year as a Georgia quarterback, and then Brock Vandagriff comes in and just sucks, I'm never going to be able to figure out quarterbacks. Or I'm going to feel like I have no idea how to figure out quarterbacks anymore.
Well, you don't like Trevor
Either that
Lawrence,
or-
so I think that
Stop it. I like Justin Fields better. That's all it was. I thought Trevor
Same here,
Lawrence was
especially
fantastic. Well, yeah, he's a bear.
Especially now. But even in high school, I was always team Fields.
Well, it hurts to be wrong.
Well,
I was also team
The
Brian
book is
Lee
still
I
open.
mean,
Tate
Patrick
Manning.
Mahomes went number 10, Josh. It doesn't mean that he was a bust, all right?
Ooh, 10 and 9.
Guys,
10 and 11.
Or 11, yeah, that's
I'm
right.
sorry. We don't want to bring up the Patrick Mahomes thing because night of the draft, I have a tweet saying that this was going to be an absolute superstar pick for the Chiefs. So I saw it all coming, basically.
It must have been all the tape
No,
that
no.
he put up in 2017 down in Lubbock against OU.
I think what it is
a
that
little jarring.
I think what it is that Georgia is just the most batshit quarterback crazy place on the planet. I mean,
Well, I mean, is it
I love
limited
Jake Fromm.
Is
and
it
then
limited
he-
to quarterback?
then he
It seems
sucked.
like
they had Justin Fields and he left and he was great. JT Daniels, I never liked him. And now he's there and everybody's like, oh, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the draft next year. I still think his arm is shit.
Well, who the heck was that guy that started the season? I had never heard of him in my life.
yeah, like the third string kid that ended up winning the job out of
The
nowhere.
walk-on kid, like the
Never.
former walk-on kid. Yeah. What was it? Stetson? Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Something like that. Number 13. I just remember watching him in that Alabama game, and I was like, nope,
Like,
nope, nope. This is going to go real bad.
Stetson Bennett.
And, you know,
That's what it was.
I could be just thrown
That's a
off.
Georgia quarterback if ever there was a name.
Like you're born to play quarterback in the SEC with that name.
I could just be thrown off because Daniels reclassified and should have been a high school senior when he's playing college ball. So maybe that's it.
Yeah, what is amazing, guys, what has Georgia done at quarterback to keep recruiting all these elite-ass guys?
I have no idea. Well,
they've got a 5-star committed in this class, a year behind Brock. And I think, guys, I was very open. I think Brock's an absolute star. I think he's incredibly good. I
think he is too.
I
will say after the 5-star, I do like Bryce Young better than Brock. I like him as I like his success potential better. And I know they were a year apart. But.
It's such a tricky spot with Bryce Young because I didn't love him. I don't love him. But he's at fucking Alabama.
Okay to be wrong,
he's gonna be really good. Like, he's gonna put up huge numbers because Jesus, just throw it to the next 5-star wide receiver. Like, it's not that complicated.
He is ridiculously accurate, and that's the one thing that watching Lincoln Riley come to Oklahoma has taught me. Accuracy with the right coordinator is all that really matters.
It's true.
It's not even velocity. It's accuracy, and Bryce Young is an accurate motherfucker.
Finally, Alabama gets it right.
It's just crazy how that story has changed. Like, just a couple years ago, it was like, Tua, they finally have a quarterback. And now it's just like, well, Tua, Alabama's just a, conveyor belt at quarterback. I don't know. I have full belief that my man O'Brien can ruin a good quarterback. I believe he can do it.
He run an entire franchise. I mean,
I know, right?
You would think that running a just one position unit would be simple.
Well, allegedly, the rumor was he introduced Deshaun to his first massage girl. So
Did he have Hackenberg at Penn State
for a while?
O'Brien.
He did. He
had to.
That was
right?
his. Yeah, that was his first year. Was Hackenberg's freshman year, and what was O'Brien was at Penn State for 2 years, right? Isn't that right?
I thought it was 1 year.
Was it just one? I think it was 2 because it was like, okay, well, Bill O'Brien's going to the NFL, and next year he'll probably be, making an early pick and getting Christian Hackenberg. And everybody's like, oh, wait a second, Christian Hackenberg's not that good.
2012,
is he still in the league?
2012, 2013, by the way, on Penn State.
Yep.
2 years. Yep.
But I mean, I sat there and watched Swoops and Hackenberg, and I thought, man, Hackenberg's going to be really good, and he just wasn't.
Swoop.
Neither was Swoops, though.
Well, and Max Brown was there, too, and I didn't think much of him, except he looked like a fatty. He had an
that was the
unathletic
Chicago
head.
one, wasn't it?
No, that was the first Atlanta one.
Oh, that's right. Yep. I'll just Jalen Smith. That's the only I think of him, and I think of the tight end that you had such a boner for,
O.J. Howard.
Oh yeah,
Well, then
that's one of your truest man crushes ever.
Oh, who was the tight end, defensive end guy? He wasn't a Gorman kid.
Tight end defensive,
like Williams or Mitchell or something. From a couple years ago.
Now, last year there was a kid from Nevada, but I don't think you ever saw him. The kid that went to Georgia and was really good last year as a freshman.
No, this is somebody I just
end.
saw on tape that I fell in love with.
Okay.
But no, anyway.
Yeah.
No, the one thing I remember about that camp is the running back that was there, who was no longer with us.
Greg Bryant?
Yes. Yep. And I think he was no U commitment while we were there.
I believe that's right.
He was. And that was the first time you were like, watch out for Notre Dame. I was like, wait, what? Like, because he was so gung-ho about OU, and then everybody you talked to all of a sudden was like, no, you might want to keep an eye on that. And then I think within like a month he'd flipped.
All right, anything, Josh, just recruiting-wise that's floating out there that we could get to?
Go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, I was just going to say, it seems like ChampUBBQ just reading over Oklahoma today. I mean, it continues. That might be the biggest single recruiting weekend. And Bob, I think you said this, told me this morning. It's like it might be the biggest recruiting weekend in the history of OU recruiting, just from what they're trying to build up.
Yeah, like Notre Dame 2012, Buckeyes 2016. But if they can really get all the names that they're banking on next month, that would top it.
The big addition this week was Caden Green, the 2023 offensive lineman that's like number 37 in the country, one of the top offensive tackles. Actually just secured an invite to the 5-star challenge, doing really well at the Indianapolis Rivals camp. So we'll get a chance to see him this summer at the 5-star. So this list just gets crazier and crazier by the minute. There are a few other guys I'm still trying to confirm with. That you kind of keep hearing these big time names. Eddie mentioned Woke, Jalen Hale, the big time wide receiver out of Longview, that I have said kind of reminds me in some ways of AJ Green. I mean, as big as that comparison is, kind of similar movement, real long, kind of lanky guys. But really, like I said, just a big time receiver that clearly is one of those guys in 2023 that OU wants in that receiver class that could go down as even better than the group in the 2019 class that we've all talked about, the 3 5-stars. But this group might be not just better on the field, which seems possible right now with no more than that group has done, but also could be better in the rankings, which is pretty amazing considering how highly valued all of those guys were. But Hale has told me that he will that he's planning to be in Norman. He's trying to make sure his dad can get off of work, and if his dad can get off work, that's where he's going to be. Another interesting note, Jonte Cook won't be there, but Jonte Cook has told me he will be at Oklahoma twice in the month of June. It's going to visit Alabama the weekend of the barbecue, but it's going to hit OU the first week of June, and then hit him back again on the last few days. Now, to be fair to him, he told me June 31st. I was corrected in the Woke thread. There is no June 31st, and I should own I am terrible with calendars. I suck at the 30, 31st in this month. I can't remember it. It's just not in me to know it. I don't do it. So that's on me for not checking him on that, but I'm guessing he meant June 30th. He's going to go on that last day of the month.
I was gonna if you carry you, but that had already been taken care of by the time I had read the thread.
What a surprise! Bob got out-douched.
If at any point with the ChampUBBQ thing, and I know that this has kind of been a concern, and I don't know if it's a concern. I guess it's a good thing, but at some point, does it get too big and it takes away from the, like, I guess, quote unquote, specialness of being invited to something like that?
There is. I mean, I think, and I've got to think, and I kind of want to ask that question. It just hasn't been, or I've kind of beaten around it, but I've not gotten a direct answer of what that number is. Do they feel comfortable with 40, 45? Is it more about specific number, like positional breakdowns? Like, we don't want more than 6 guys at one position or 7, that kind of deal. But like I said, I know the offensive line group's going to be really big. And then, like I said, you throw in Luke Montgomery, the 2023 offensive line offer from Ohio, Caden Green, who I just mentioned from Missouri. You throw in a couple of unofficial visits, and that's just who we've confirmed so far. There's going to be – that list is going to get a lot bigger. It's crazy to think, guys. We've been talking about this for so long. It's still a month and a week away. Like, there's still a ton of time for this thing to change and evolve. But I think the official visit list is just about set at about 18, 19 guys. And I don't think Oklahoma wants to bring that many guys in. But like I talked about last week, there is that concern of what if things go bad and all of a sudden, we're back to where we were last year and guys can't take visits and guys can't come in. OU's got it. They're trying to get the guys they want in and kind of move forward with that. But like, I guess one other thing I did want to mention, because Carey just kind of asked, what's kind of been going around. What I do hear that I think is getting interesting in the secondary is I think Oklahoma is opening up more and more to the idea of taking some of these kind of bigger corner targets and maybe thinking about moving them to safety, or giving them a shot at safety or giving them that option. Hey, you can play corner and that's fine, but maybe safety is your fastest way to the field. And I kind of look at a guy like Jaden Rowe from Union that just recently committed as being a really good example of that because he's so big. But, it's a guy that we have on, he put out a video of him running like 10.45 or something crazy at a recent track meet for a guy that's listed at like 6'3", 210. I don't care where you put that dude. Just get him on the field. So, like I said, there is starting to become some flexibility. I think Chance Biddle is really the one guy at safety that I can say, yeah, that's a dude they're zeroing in on. Jalen Lewis, who we talked about a little bit, I'm starting to get a feeling maybe that's changed a little bit. I think he had a couple of camp performances that maybe kind of gave some people some pause, but we'll keep watching all of it. But I think you're starting to see more and more of guys that are maybe seen right now as corner or nickel type guys that might get shifted kind of to a safety perspective.
Is that a...
Well, Josh,
Go ahead, Bob.
would that be Austin Jordan, Gentry Williams? Are they pure corners? You think?
Gentry, to me, is no doubt a corner. Like, I just – his game doesn't play to a safety to me. Austin Jordan is a bigger guy than people realize he is. That's a big, long, kind of athletic dude. Yet another guy at Denton Ryan that's just a monstrous-looking guy. But I think he's a corner. To me, I think that's what OU wants. I think they want Gentry and Austin to be their corners. And then – kind of move from there. But what I will say that's interesting, Bob, and I'm kind of basing what I say about Gentry off of what I think is clear and obvious, but as I've talked about before, most of the recruitment of Gentry Williams is being done by Alex Grinch, whose position is safety. So maybe you're not crazy in that. Maybe that makes some sense, but everything I've been told is that corner is where he's seen.
Is that, I guess, philosophy change? Is that a product of because they haven't been able to recruit the quote-unquote, I guess, safety position as well as maybe they hoped? Or is because I wouldn't imagine that like the Jaden Rowe kid, you're not going to find a whole lot of those across the country, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, Jaden Rowe is kind of like Jordan Mukes last year, a guy with that body type,
6'1"?
which is way bigger than 6'1", and that can run like he does. You kind of have to take that chance. Like, you have to believe in yourself that you can develop that type of player and that type of athlete into the guy you need him to be. Jaden Rowe, same way. Like when he starts, a guy, if you're 6'3", 210 and you run sub 11 in the 100. You should have multiple Division I scholarships. I don't even really care if you played football before. Like that is a rare combination of size and speed. But I do think what you're saying, Eddie, is there's some truth in that. They haven't been able to get in on as many of the safeties they would want. And I think it's one of the few positions on defense where they have to fight. Like, okay, we're not going to fall too in love with this guy because of this thing or the other, because most of the elite defensive backs that play at the high school level play corner. They just do. Because a team can put them out there and just that side of the field is gone. I mean, a good corner, Gentry Williams, no one wants to throw that side of the field against Booker T. No one ever, no way, no how. And that's how so you just take that away from an offense. So there is some advantage in that. And I think the problem is OU has such a belief in their, height, weight, speed guys. You don't get a lot of that safety. There's not a lot of high school safeties that are running like what we just talked about with Jaden Rowe. You're not going to find many dudes like that. So they are taking bigger corners and saying, hey, we're going to move you around. It's kind of like what OU used to do with tight ends. They take big tight ends and turn them into offensive tackles. They're just, hey, you project better here. Let us work you out there.
Except the Ravens don't do that, and they're doing pretty good with the tight end thing.
Yeah.
Of course, they find some of the biggest humans on the planet.
Well, when your quarterback can't throw the ball over 10 yards, you got to have a tight end, right?
Oh, man.
Oh.
Spot the lie.
He froze out Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews. I'm just trying to get my boys some balls,
I will say that that's going to be interesting seeing him with Tylan Wallace having another deep threat.
They took another tight end too, didn't they? The Ravens?
They took a fullback, I think. Michigan,
did they?
The Michigan fullback, I think.
Was it Stevenson? Because he was one of the top fullbacks in the draft.
Who took the Freiermuth kid? It wasn't them.
He went early, yeah.
Yeah, he was like second round.
Pittsburgh, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
It was the 55th pick. They took.
Yep.
That's right.
Oh, they got, who else? Baltimore guy. I mean, Tylan Wallace is obviously the guy that caught everybody's attention here, but Rashad Bateman, the kid from Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
That was their first
you know
round
who else
pick.
I really like? I like the Fitzgerald kid from Louisville, the receiver. He's good.
See, it's probably not, like I'm going to bet in the years to come you're going to see a lot of OU defensive players go to the Ravens because they believe in the same shit: height, weight, speed. That Jason Oweh kid that didn't have a damn intercept or didn't have a sack last year, they took him. He's 6'5", 260 and ran sub 4.4. Yep, that makes sense.
It's like the defensive end from Miami that went in the first round that didn't even play last year, but had 18 sacks in 2019. What was the kid's name?
Rousseau.
Russo.
Yeah. Rousseau.
Yeah, Gregory Rousseau.
And Carey, nicely done. They got Ben Mason from Michigan, who I believe was a winner of what's the Barstool Fullback Award? Damn it.
Yeah, I know
Is
what
it
you're
the
talking
low
about.
man?
Low man,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. Yep.
He is cut from the fullback cloth. I think he's listed as a tight end though.
And also
Yeah,
feeding
H-back
Carey's belief. They got Ben Cleveland, that offensive lineman from Georgia.
Oh my God.
Just a meat mountain of a human being, but like flat bellied, like just a huge human being.
He's the most impressive man I've seen in my life, I would say. Because he would have been a junior when we saw him in Baltimore for the first time.
Yep. And that was like he wasn't all that well known at that point. Like it was kind of a guy that I don't think it was Chad because I don't think Chad was with us at that point. But like his name was just starting to get out. Maybe it was Woody had seen him and really liked him, but like he wasn't like I think at that point he only had like a handful of offers, and then of course it just exploded and he ended up being a 5-star.
Is it too early to? And we'll be talking about it, I'm sure, in upcoming unofficial 40s. But just like what the scene's going to be for camp settings this summer, and predominantly like the norm OU camp and stuff like that, the satellite camps that they're going to have. Those will be pretty busy, I would think. Wouldn't you think?
I absolutely would. I think again, it's just like the rivals camps, the Nike camps. Like they've been slammed with more guys because everybody missed it. Like I think guys had a long time where they're like, oh, got to go to another camp. Oh, I got to go do this. And then after last year, it was like, no, like we'll take anything we can get our hands on. Please let us go to a camp. Let us go do something. So I'm going to guess Oklahoma gets a lot of good feedback on inviting guys up to camp. And they've got their, I don't have the dates in front of me, but I've been told, yeah, those are the ones that are noted as the elite. That's really going to be the ones where you see guys. Like I don't think, now don't get me wrong, if a kid can't make one and, says, hey, I'm going to come to this, then, whatever, fine. But I think that's definitely what OU is pushing for. And it'll be interesting, though, because, they're already making a ton of 2023 offers. How many guys, is it going to be a couple of in-state guys that maybe they like? Like, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of handle that.
Dave
because
Stone or something like
that.
Yep.
Exactly. Recruiting's changed so much that it's so early that I think you're going to see a little different perspective on how they handle that. It's not going to be, years past when like Reggie Smith was coming to the camp as a junior. Like that's not going to happen.
Anything else you guys want to hit on before we get out of here? Of significance?
I don't think so.
No, not really. Going back to Lincoln Riley, I was just looking through the rundown of what he was talking about. He should have come out and basically told ESPN that they don't want to be number one. Like, denounce the spring football number one ranking
title
and say that his team won't work hard if they're number one this summer.
Basically, I think what it is, it's the other team besides Alabama that we can put at number one.
We can't put them because they don't have a quarterback.
Because
that might be spring rankings as a whole.
Who else would you put at number one realistically besides Alabama? You put them number one every year.
Yeah.
And you can't put Clemson because they looked kind of crappy. That was their worst performance in the college football playoffs.
That's because they didn't start the better quarterback. DJ Ugalele.
All the usual suspects, the usual top three, they don't have a quarterback.
Well, I think that's
They're
why
all replacing a guy.
and kind of going back into what Lincoln was talking about, I think it was Jenny that asked him what he likes so much about this group. It's the fact that there's a lot of guys that have played a ton of football down there that are coming back and being
And let's
going
face
to be
it,
big time
they
players.
have what appears to be a legitimate defense.
Yeah, 100%.
Although, I don't know if it's. I mean, look, I think you put Baker back in that offense as a third-year starter. It's an awesome offense, and they're really good.
Got to have guys step up.
You just have to have better quarterback play. And I mean, look, it was capable when Hurts was there, but it wasn't Baker and Kyler.
Yeah, but if
It
they
has
don't-
a chance to be the closest thing to Baker and Kyler.
if they don't drop a bunch
been
of
last year.
touchdown passes last year, I think we kind of look back at Rattler's season a little bit probably better than it was. He played better than we think it was because the numbers weren't there.
And I think that's why Lincoln was so hard on the receivers when spring opened.
100%.
But they're going to have to get guys to step up, not name Trajan Bridges.
Get guys to work hard in the summer.
Don't rob anybody.
Don't commit felonies. Those are your 2 summer rules. We'll see you June 1. Is that when everybody comes back? Is that when
Summer homework, guys.
they kind of? Because I know for the next couple
It's
weeks everybody's
like
going to be back at home.
It's usually like the 1st or the 7th, like around in there.
Yeah, it's usually the first week of June.
Well, and Bob, you kind of previewed it on the board this past, I guess it was Monday or Tuesday, talking about like it's kind of weird that they're only waiting on 5 or 6 guys to get to campus.
Yeah, right now only
To complete the
Jaleel
2021
Farouk
class.
and Savion Bird are the only 2 not in the database for the 2021 class.
Wow.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition. And I know we did not get the 5-star reviews. Keep going to the iTunes page, though. Give us some reviews. We've got a bunch of pretty funny new ones. We will start getting to that. And also, I fell short of the Bob Stoops voice twin. But guess what? We're going to have a lot of time to kill next week.
We're getting ready to hit the dog days of summer, if you will. Maybe we
So-
do need somebody to go commit another felony. It'll give us something to talk about.
We'll be hitting the camp circuit, too.
I'll go commit a felony if we have to.
No, don't do that. All right. Just worry about getting
Well,
your new
interstate steroid
car.
distribution.
I'm really interested to see what car young Edward picks.
I don't know.
I don't think he will anytime soon.
Yeah, it's going to be. We're a couple months away. I would say by the
Still exciting.
I would say by the start of football season. Maybe a Range Rover.
I've been told that I can't have one of those because they're not reliable.
I had a friend that had a Land Rover. It wasn't a Range Rover, but it was a massive headache. Because I think you can. It's kind of like a bunch of foreign cars. You have to take it to the place or whatever. It sucks.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Unofficial 40. We will be back once again next week. Thanks to everyone for listening, and we'll see you then right here on the Unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.